3, 2, 1. Cueing graphics.
All right, this is Dan Dorfman with WVT-TV News, the news you need to hear when you need to hear it, Los Santos. We're here outside of the Mission Row Police Station with Legs, one of the excellent members, well-trained staff at Securo Serve. And as you were tuning in a little at the half hour, we did an interview with Danny Slater, who's recently been returned from parts unknown out around Sandy Shores in an abduction incident, as well as his lovely fiancée, Miss Jessie. They had an incident that left 2 dead up at the top of the D on the Vinewood sign. And you might have seen that interview. And Legs, we understand that you were you rolled up on the scene as a responding as a member of Securo Serve. You were following up on those tweets, the same tweets that brought the WVT news team over to the Vinewood sign as well. Did you go into a little bit about your instincts and how they kicked in?
Sure. Yeah. So anytime there's a perceived threat, and Securo Serve is able to respond, we'll of course move in and offer our services as much as we possibly can. So as soon as I saw the tweets from Mr. Danny Slater saying that they were on the Vinewood sign on the D and including the word "please help" or something like that, well, I figured we should go up there. I was out patrolling at the time with Mr. Mike Lemonade, who's a prospective recruit into Securo Serve. Just sort of showing him the ropes. Figured, okay, hey, let's go check this out. We'll see if there's anything we can do to help.
And that was a.
So yeah, it was the tweets that sent me up there.
And so that was the same thing that alerted the WVT-TV news team, and we managed to position ourselves where we were able to get a good vantage point and witness a lot of what Danny Slater and Jesse managed to tell us. And I wonder, there were a couple of things that they mentioned there, which I believe you were more of a privy to, Legs. And so could you tell us a little bit about your positioning as you came on scene? What did you see?
All right, yeah. So we got there. We saw that there were some people up on the tip of the D, as it were. Climbed up there right away. Got up there to the top, and all 3 people at that time. I could tell there was something going on. They were super nervous about something, but they were all saying, "No, it's fine. No, we don't need any help," and sending me down. In retrospect, it's clear now at this point that was because they felt endangered by Miss Chanel due to her previous actions in the evening. However, at the time, I had not been aware of that. So I figured, okay, it's just some kids up here playing around on top of the D. Kids love the D, so why not be up here? And I left the scene at that point. Well, I began to leave the scene, I should say.
And I believe, we were talking a little bit off camera. You had mentioned that, Securo Serve had, you guys were aware of Miss Kiki Chanel before, and some alleged not cross-dressing, that's not the right word, alleged identity impersonations that Miss Chanel...
Impersonation, exactly.
Would you care to go into just a tiny bit of that?
Yeah, so we'd been speaking with Mr. and Mrs. Slater, well, Mr. and Miss Slater, I guess, earlier on in the week, because they had reported to us as well as to the police that Kiki Chanel had been impersonating Miss Jessie, and so we had heard since then from the police that Miss Chanel had been apprehended and punished for that action. But apparently she'd been let back out of the prison, or whatever sentence she'd been given was no longer applying at this point. But this was that knowledge ended up being real important, because as soon as I started driving back down the hill, we were just gonna leave. We figured they were fine. We were just gonna leave. As soon as I started driving back down the hill, that's when I passed Miss Jessie, who was running up the hill, and I realized okay, this is not just some kids playing around. Something real bad's about to happen here.
So your instincts kind of kicked in, and it sounds like they They really served you well, Legs, as you were able to kind of assess the situation and determine a course of action. Now, did you at all at that time fear for your life?
No. I never feared for my life. I've been shot in the head twice. I just walked it off. I ain't too worried about that.
All right. Shit. All right. So that's I've been shot recently myself, and breaking news here at WVT-TV News. But I've been shot recently myself. It's no picnic out there. It's you never quite know. You just feel that sting, like a bee sting, and then you hope that you can get the leak plugged. But now, as you see Miss Jessie running up the hill, what did you do then? You said you turned the van around. Now, did you have Mike Lemonade go off in one direction, or was he just asked to stay in the van?
No, the two of us remained in the vehicle. We were still driving back up the hill. As soon as we started to get like halfway up the hill again, we were still in motion when the first shot was fired, and we saw the minister guy, whose name I unfortunately never caught. We saw him come falling off the back of the D, fall down to his death. And at that point, we just stopped immediately because now an active shooter involved. Our first instinct, as always, was to immediately attempt to contact the law enforcement of Los Santos and get them up there as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
So I immediately began contacting 911. Unfortunately, we never got a response.
Yeah, the Humble News team here, myself, I was observing at this time through binoculars. Though I didn't hear that first shot, I did see because we were just getting out of the van, I did see the body fall from the Vinewood sign, and it looked to be a male. And we saw we immediately called 911, both my cameraman and I, and reported the incident and tried to get a hold of local law enforcement. Now, as the situation continued to unfold, did you continue to monitor from the Securo served vehicle and maintain contact with authorities, or did you move up perhaps a little bit further where you were able to hear some conversation?
Yeah, so after sending several reports into 911 and not getting any response, so it was probably about a minute, 2 minutes had passed at this point. I made the decision, okay, nothing's going to happen here. If we've got an active shooter up there, somebody who's got some training needs to step in. Like, it's just a couple of kids up there, right? Someone with some training's got to step up in there and be prepared to put their life on the line to protect them. So we got up a little bit closer at that point. We're still in the vehicle at this moment in time. We wanted to have the extra protection from the active shooter. As we got up there, that's when I started overhearing Kiki shouting about how she was going to kill Mr. Slater and kill herself so they could be together or something. Not quite sure how that works. The math doesn't quite add up to me, but whatever, that's what she was shouting about. And at that point, very shortly thereafter, is when I heard additional gunshots. Again, additional instinct at that point was to return back to cover, so we went down the hill just slightly, and we parked behind a bush and sent in a few more reports to 911, hoping that finally someone would respond.
So with all the danger, the stuff popping off at the top of the D, your instinct was naturally to go and run for the bush. I completely understand that. We were observing from our own bush and watching things, unfold. Just curious, did you hear Mr. Slater say anything about to Miss Jessie prior to the shots being fired?
They were speaking to each other. The context of it, I wasn't quite able to follow exactly what was going on there because I had just gotten to the point where I was able to make out with their words again. So I didn't really hear too much in terms of what he was saying. Unfortunately, I just heard the additional shots go off, and then saw Miss Chanel's body fall.
After you saw Miss Chanel's body fall, was Securo serve? You would have been at the bottom of the hill, or were you above on the top of the hill towards the road area? What was your vantage point?
We were only slightly down the hill, maybe about 200 meters down the hill. We were staying well within eyesight so that we could see anything that was going on. I just wanted to make sure that our prospective recruit was safe before I moved up into attempt to take down any active shooters. Once I saw Miss Chanel's body fall, that was a bit surprising considering what I'd just been hearing her shouting about just a moment ago. So that's the point that we decided to move back up.
Okay, and so and I think it was a good thing probably for you to have your recruit at a safe distance. I mean, you wouldn't want to have to deal with Mama T if anything should happen to bad boy Mike Lemonade. But was Securo Serve at all involved in initial trauma treatment of Miss Chanel or the priest?
Yes, absolutely. Unfortunately, by the time that I could actually investigate the body of the priest, he had already passed. He was no longer with us, completely dead at that point. Nothing I could have done at that point, unfortunately. I attempted to use what sort of field medicine I could on Miss Chanel. Ripped off a chunk of my shirt, wrapped it around her wounds, just doing what I can to keep her alive. It was actually it was a very confusing few moments for me because I got up there. And Jesse was just walking back and forth over and over saying that she'd shot Kiki. And Mr. Slater was trying to calm everybody down and seemed to be really worried about Kiki. So initially, I had assumed that the situation was a little bit different and that Jesse had killed Kiki out of jealousy or something. But as time had gone on, and the more I've learned about the action since then, I do believe that it was done in self-defense, particularly knowing what Kiki had been saying a few moments ago, threatening to kill both herself and Danny Slater.
Now, what did you observe? After Danny and Jesse, seemed to have reconciled with what had happened. What did they do next? What was the next series of events that you observed?
Well, at that point, we were mostly just concerned with trying to get Miss Chanel to some sort of medical facility. Unfortunately, in addition to there not being any law enforcement on duty at this moment in time, there also appeared to have been no EMS on duty. So we did the best that we could, loaded Miss Chanel into the back of the Securo Serve vehicle, and drove her down to Pillbox as quickly as possible.
All right, and what about the other vehicles that had arrived on scene? When did they start coming in, and kind of what was the timeline there?
So there was a taxi that had arrived right as we were leaving, and everybody else loaded themselves into the taxi and were meant to meet us down at the Pillbox Hospital. Unfortunately, our vehicle suffered quite an incident while we were attempting to safely extradite the body down the hill while still maintaining some element of speed. So we did have to. Fortunately, we ended up crashing
I'll get to you in just a second. Welcome, guys, from Gilly Guys Stream.
To the Secure Serve headquarters.
Thank you very much. Very strong raid. Surf's up, dude.
Mike Lemonade and I were able to load Miss Chanel into the new vehicle and get her safely down to, well, as safely as possible, I suppose, down to Pillbox. But the other vehicles that arrived, they mostly just arrived right near the end, and then they just used those vehicles to leave, basically.
It sounded like the city was once again well served by having Securo Serve on the scene and filling in while the resources at City Hall here and Mission Row were pretty stretched. It was fortunate, I think, that you guys were there to arrive on the scene, and your instincts served you well as hopefully Miss Chanel. We'll see what her status is tomorrow, and certainly the Jesse and Danny, the fiance and the surfer, who are just recently reunited. So Legs, once again, thank you again for taking time to speak with us. This is Dan Dorfman with WVT-TV News, the news you need to hear when you need to hear it, Los Santos. As you can tell, we're getting a lot of different perspectives and news stories here coming in about the incident up at Vinewood related to Mr. Danny Slater and Jesse being reunited, and the incident that left two dead, or one dead and one in critical condition at the moment at Pillbox Hill. So we're going to throw it back to you, Stephanie. We're going to go ahead and take it back to you, Stephanie, back in the studio. All right, we're going to be out in 5.
All right.
Who is this guy?
All right.